Well, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're just giving another couple seconds here for some live viewers to come in. If you are watching live, please do post on the comments section below what your name is and where you're from. We can't always see the name. Sometimes it says Facebook user. So the panelists will also be able to see those comments. By the way, panelists, you can see those on the right. So if you would like to do that, we'll know where you're from and your name. Obviously, we welcome comments all through the show tonight. And if you have any comments on the topics, especially the last one we're going to do, I would really like to see those. So we'll get started here in just a second. For those that are joining, Jennifer, one of our panelists, brought it up tonight. Above my head there is, some people have asked about that in the past. That is a painting of a sound wave. And what it is the clippity-clop that you hear at the beginning of all the Horse Radio Network shows and says, where I come on and say, this is the Horse Radio Network. That's the clippity-clop, and this is the Horse Radio Network. That's what the sound wave looks like. And an artist did those for all the keynote speakers at PodFest one year. So we all got those as gifts. So that's I love that thing. And that's why that's what you see up there, in case you're wondering what it is. So that's the beginning of every show that we do. And of course, for new people, that Afghan that is over my other shoulder, that way, is something that Jennifer's stepmom did. She made that, she designed it, she laid it out with our logo, and made it, it took her 6 months to do the whole thing. It's huge. It covers up the entire window. But it took her 6 months to do that Afghan. So I'm pretty proud of that, too. And it's covering up a window there, so I don't get backlight. But that's what that is. So she was here the other day and was very happy to see that it was going to be in all the videos that we do from now on. All right, let's get this show started. I'm going to count in for the audio version of this that will go out on the Stable Scoop feed. And again, please post in the comments who you are, where you're from, and we would love to have you as part of the conversation tonight. 3, 2, 1. This is episode 531 of the Stable Scoop Show, the Horse Radio Network's Equestrian Roundtable show in coordination with American Horse Publications. Our sponsor this episode is Kemin Equine. I am Glenn DeGeek, founder of the Horse Radio Network and host of Horses in the Morning, now the longest-running daily horse podcast in the world, and we're happy to say the longest-running independent daily podcast in the world. Welcome back to the Equestrian Roundtable, and we are excited to partner with American Horse Publications, and usually on this show, we'll have one or two of the representatives, journalists from American Horse Publications. That's the Association of Journalists in the Horse World. But the reason we don't tonight is because they're all flying to Lexington. So tomorrow, we're all flying into Lexington. I'm going to, and it's our annual conference there. So it's going to be at the Marriott Griffin Gate, right down the street from the horse park. And we're all excited to get together again this year and hang out at the Marriott. So I'm really looking forward. There'll be about 6 hosts, I think, from the various shows in the Horse Radio Network. So podcasting will be well represented. When I first started going there, I was the only podcast host at the whole place. Nobody knew what a podcast was. So I'm happy to say that that's not the case anymore. There's a lot of podcast hosts. So I'll be your host and moderator tonight. I have opinions about things, but I try and back off a little bit and let the panelists talk. If you're watching live, welcome to the show. This is the first podcast that we're doing that's all live in addition to recorded. So if you miss any part of it tonight, you'll find the recorded on tomorrow's Stable Scoop episode feed and also on the Auditor feed as well. Now, one of our panelists tonight hasn't made it yet, so we're hoping that she makes it. I don't know if she had an emergency with the horses or what's going on, but we're hoping that she arrives here at some point tonight. So we're going to do it anyway, and we have 2 panelists that have shown up, and they're both auditors of ours. Actually, all 3 are. And what that means is they're super fans of the Horse Radio Network. They actually pay a little bit every month to be an auditor, to become a super fan. And they join us in our super secret auditor room, which is one of the most supportive communities in the horse world. And I asked them to do an all auditor episode, an all listener episode tonight, and they were kind enough to volunteer. So the first one up has been an auditor probably for the shortest period of time of anybody tonight, and that's Alicia. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Glenn. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. So just housekeeping. It's my anniversary today, and if you can hear my husband talking in the background on the phone, I'm not allowed to yell at him, but just let me know and I'll give him the I'm gonna kill you, get off the phone.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
How many years is it?
We've been married for 9 years, and in typical horse lady fashion, I was like, I have a horse thing to do, so we'll celebrate later.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, you can get away with that after 9 years because,
Yeah.
yeah. You made it through 7. You're good now.
Yep.
Somebody remembered, though. He remembered.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll forgive you. So, do you have a horse?
I do. I have a 9-year-old off the track thoroughbred gelding. His name is Mach 5. He wasn't a great racehorse. He only won a couple races, and that was good for me because I got him. But I've only had him for about a year. Um, and I was actually horseless. I didn't own a horse for over 10 years because my husband's active duty military. And that actually kind of made me think of one of the topics for tonight was like how to save money because it's a little bit of sticker shock going from not owning a horse. The last time I'd owned a horse was over 10 years ago when things were, I don't know if you know, but like 10 years ago, things were way cheaper.
They were.
Yeah. But yeah,
And,
go ahead.
and your topic tonight is going to be tips for affording horses when things are tight, right? So
Yes.
we're gonna talk about that tonight. And is your horse what do you call him around the barn? Do you call him
I just call him Mock.
Mock? I like
Yep.
that. And where do you
It's
live?
different. I live in Central Texas, so I'm about an hour north of Austin, and I board my horse at a barn that's about 30 minutes from here. So
Is it English Western barn? A little bit of
it's a
everything.
it's a total Western barn. I'm the only one that rides English there, but I have participated in some of they have the Western play days with like the barrels and the pole bending and all that, and
Well, that's fun
I'm
though.
very happy to report that I totally did that in my English saddle, and it was super fun, even though we like trotted the barrels for the most part because I was like, I ain't falling off. But yeah, it's a Western barn, but they're very welcoming and like I'm the entertainment for them because it's
Yeah,
so different. So
you're the English girl. Do you wear a
hmm
helmet? That would be awful.
I do wear a helmet, and I
Are you the only one?
actually yes, I wear a
Yes.
helmet and the boots and the whole thing, and I actually like wear an air vest a lot of times when I'm jumping. So they're extra kind of like, okay, your horse must be insane, lady. You're like ready for war.
That's
But
funny. You probably have the only helmet and air vest in the county, actually.
probably.
Oh, and thank you also. You're our newest auditor, I think one of the newest auditors that we have. So thank you for that. And
Yeah.
thank you for listening. We appreciate that too.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's totally worth it. I've never been an auditor or done Patreon or anything before, and I was like, I'm gonna do it, and it's been really fun to have the extra exclusive content and get to stay on past the normal podcast time. So
Good. You figured that out. Good. Good
yep.
for you. Yep. All
Yeah.
right. Good. All right. Next up, we have Jennifer with us. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So where are you at, Jennifer?
I am just a little bit north of Atlanta, in Georgia.
Okay. You're in Jamie's old territory there.
Yeah, whenever she talks about it, I know exactly where she's talking about.
And you actually rode with my wife in an endurance ride at one point, didn't you?
I did. We both rode together down at McCauley Farms in Florida, and we were doing, I think we did a limited distance, but we were both what they call green beans, and we just stuck together, babysat each other, and made it through the ride really well. We had fun.
I have to tell her you're on tonight. I have to tell her that you're joining us tonight. So obviously you're an endurance rider, right?
I'm a limited endurance rider. People like Karen, Karen Chatton, I'm not sure they really consider me an endurance rider, but I think riding for 25 miles is a long ways.
I think she considers you an endurance rider. Anybody who rides for 25 miles is considered an endurance rider in my book.
It's far enough for me.
Yeah, it's far enough for Jennifer too.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you for putting up with her horse Nigel during that time because he's a handful when it comes to endurance. Yeah, he's special.
He's
That's
special.
right.
He there are things in the woods that bother him. He has some fears.
Yes. The fact that she sits that she was totally exhausted. I remember she was totally exhausted after that.
Well, it's not just the ride, it's the camping with the horse. It's it's a huge production.
It is. It is to endurance rides a commitment, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a commitment.
But it's fun.
Well, good. Well, you have I think we're going to do Alicia's topic, but Jennifer, your topic we're going to do second, and
Okay.
that is what has my horse taught me. And I would love to get the live listeners' feedback on that when we get to that topic too, because I think everybody's going to have a little bit of a different answer. I think some things will be the same for everybody, and then there'll be some things that are different for everybody. But I'm anxious to hear that because I don't think it's a topic that we've covered before. So thank you for bringing that to the table. But we're going to get
Yay.
started. Alicia, tell us about your topic. What did you want to talk about tonight?
So my topic was one that's pretty relevant to me. Like I said, I was kind of not out of horses. I didn't own my own horse for the last about 10 years until more recently. And so it's made me a lot more conscious of like how much horses cost and things you can kind of do to save money, and then how it's changed, or how I kind of alter things I used to do. Like I used to get my hair done and my nails and go get massages and do all these things, and now I'm like, well,
She is not a frilly girl anymore.
yeah, and I would just dye my own hair, whatever. So yeah, just I guess I can just jump right into what the ideas that I had about that, and then you guys can
Can I
add
ask you a
if.
question first?
Yes, yes.
Did you tell your husband how expensive that saddle was that's behind you over there?
Yes, he knew. So funny story about that is that I was, like I said, the last 10 years he's in the military. We're moving around. I was catch and exercise riding a million different horses for people, which is free. And so I was like last spring, I was like, I deserve this like awesome saddle because I don't have a horse. I want to take this nice saddle to all these barns I'm catch riding at, and I bought it. And then maybe 2 months later, I bought my horse that I said I wasn't gonna buy until we had a farm. So yeah, he knew about it, but
Okay, just checking. All right, go
yeah.
ahead.
So that brings me into the first part is the buy and sell. Like I think most equestrians are kind of on board with this, but the used tack and apparel, like for people, unless you're a professional, but I think a lot of the listeners are kind of like me, where they have a horse for a hobby and it's fun, and so we know horses take a lot of time and money. And um, I always try to tell as many people as I can when they're like, "Hey, where do you get breeches from, or where do you get this or that?" Obviously, like it depends on what you're looking for, and I always recommend buying a helmet new and things like that. But there's a huge market for buying and selling like saddles, breeches. I mean, I don't think I have very many new horse related items, and so I've saved a lot of money by using like Facebook groups like English Tack Trader, English Riding Apparel. You can use Poshmark, Craigslist, like pretty much any like buy and sell type group. I actually had one of the auditors, I commented like, I'm looking for a saddlebag. I just looking for recommendations, and someone's like, I've got one, I'll sell you. And I actually ended up buying it from her and knew they're like $80, but from her I got it for 30. So just stuff like that where it takes a little bit of time, but taking advantage of buying and selling used stuff. And then virtual horse shows, which is something that was kind of new to me, but I think kind of got bigger during COVID.
I think it was new to
Um,
everybody. It really
yeah,
wasn't a thing before COVID.
yeah, but a lot of the ones, at least where I live in Central Texas, they are advertising them that they'll benefit like a horse rescue or a charity or something, where like, oh, pay $7 to $10 for a class, and you can actually get feedback from an actual judge, and you can get ribbons, but you just have to record yourself. So I mean, that's going to cost the fraction of an actual like hauling to a horse show and paying all the fees and all that stuff. So just kind of thinking outside the box if you want to have the horse show experience but don't want to blow hundreds of dollars in one day. um and then just networking, that's been the best thing for me, is like whether you're trying to buy a horse or figure out the best cost for everything, is like networking is such an important thing in the equestrian industry to me. Is that if you can find a friend, like say you want to try 5 different bits on your horse, you could put a post out or call your friends and be like, hey, does anyone have this blah 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 XYZ bit, instead of dropping a bunch of money and not being able to return it or whatever. So just like using the resources that we have out there but might not think about was a big deal for me in saving some money. because
And if you're watching live, post in there I like the question. I posted it, just posted in the auditor room too. So by the end of the night, we'll go over the answers. But what have you given up to ride your horses? So you said you gave up all the pretty girl frilly things, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
getting nicer outfits or, the nice stuff for me. A little less like going out to eat. I got an espresso, like, one of those at-home espresso machines because I had a pretty bad. I used to live in the Pacific Northwest and like there's coffee shops on every corner. I don't know about everywhere else, but the coffee addiction of like going and spending $5 or more a day was bad. And so when I totaled that up, I like just went out and bought an espresso and
That pays your board now.
not quite, but I mean, it was hundreds of dollars a month, so it puts a good little dent in it. Just stuff like that where, I mean, maybe some people can't live without it, but for me, I was like, I'd rather like have a new saddle pad or like pay my horse board than, have all the nice like foo-foo stuff. But
All right. Well, actually, we got an answer already. Rachel said, I said, is there something you give up to have horses? And she said, having money. So,
yeah.
Jennifer, how about you?
Well, I was just thinking, I do endurance riding, and since I've started it, my husband and I really haven't gone on a vacation. Our vacation is when I load him up in the gooseneck, which, by the way, has no water. But I did buy him his own bucket. We go to the endurance rides. Those are our vacations, and that's a weekend camping in the mud with a horse.
Sounds
but
lovely.
That's what we gave up.
Does
Thank
he
you.
like it though?
He likes me.
Yeah.
He enjoys the pony.
Yeah.
How long you been together? Let me ask
We've
that.
been married like 30 years.
Oh, wow, yeah, okay.
At this point.
At
But
that
no,
point,
we haven't been on a vacation since I started this. We haven't gone anywhere except to McCully or another ride in the Southeast. It's really kind of sad.
I mean, that's it could, I was going to say it could be a good point because if you're going to interesting places, if you're able to leave your horse, I guess you could totally like, go hiking somewhere here or like go. No, you can't. Okay.
No, it's not sad for me. I think it's the best thing ever. And I love it. And the weekends are my favorite. I think it might be a little sad for him, but he's game. He comes along. We have fun, I think.
Yeah.
I have fun.
Like I said, we true horsewoman.
We have one in a couple weeks. We've already started gathering our stuff. We
have fun. I mean, I have fun.
Yeah. Pony has fun. It's all good. But that was one thing that we gave up. But like you were saying, networking, and you mentioned reaching out to the auditors. I have found that to be so helpful. If I'm looking for something specific, and I know someone was selling some used equestrian attire, and I got it because, oh my gosh, it was such a deal. But she ended up sending me other stuff she found. The auditors are a great resource for finding stuff and giving you feedback on what they've used and what has worked and what hasn't worked. So you don't waste as much money trying everything.
Or like for showing, like I don't really have the desire to like show where I'd have to wear a show coat, but say if I did, or back when I was fox hunting in Georgia, like borrowing, if it's just something like once or twice a year or whatever, like just trying to borrow like items like show coats or kind of some of the stuff that's like a little more high end, but you might not need it that much. And then you're talking about going to endurance rides. One of the things I thought of too is I've always tried to, it might be kind of harder, but carpooling, horse pooling, like if you're gonna go and trying to get a buddy to haul with you and like split the fuel bill. But I don't know, how hard or easy that is to find like for endurance, because that's a little bit more specific,
There are more of us than you think. I think we hide out because people think we're weird, but we do haul together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, there are more of us than you think. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right, I got some more answers here from the auditors. So the question again was, is there something you give up to have horses? Jill says a luxury car and a social life of any kind.
Yeah.
That we didn't talk about. We were talking about monetary things, but that is something that goes too, right? You may have had a big, especially you in the military. Sometimes the military families can have a big social life because they hang out with other military families, right? And that, especially officers, I think probably more so. And that kind of goes away because you're spending all your time with the horse. You'd rather be with the horse than at a party every night.
But for me, like, I can't wait to have our own horse place. But the boarding aspect for me, because I do board, that's like my social life. But
Oh,
because
that's
I work
true.
from
Yeah.
home, so I see no one except my dog or my
Yeah, I
husband
know
most of
that
the time.
feeling.
So yeah, it's a little nice. Sometimes you're like, oh, other humans, like how do I interact? But the boarding kind of helps with the social aspect of it. But yeah, it'll definitely be cheaper when, well, theoretically cheaper when we have a place, but probably not.
You
We'll
think it
just
will.
keep saying that.
You just have to fix things and pay for that then. That's funny.
Hmm.
Nancy says going on vacation. So there's a couple going on vacations, by the way. So
Hmm.
Jennifer, you're not the only one. Laura says traveling more than a few times a year. Allison says a brand new luxury apartment. To pay board and 2 horses, I had to move into a slum. Ended
Yeah.
up with bed bugs too.
Oh no.
Oh, that's awful.
That is awful. It's
That is really
I'm sorry we're
bad.
laughing, but that's awful. Um, I just wasn't expecting that sentence right there. Mandy said, I'll see Mandy tomorrow. She said, basically anything I could buy that's nice. So there you go.
Yeah.
So there you go. And we'll see. We'll have more of those answers before the night's done. And also, our third panelist might be joining us here very shortly. So Tara might be popping in. She was delayed getting to us. Let's take a break for our sponsor for this particular episode. And then we're going to come back. And hopefully Tara will be here and we'll have 2 more topics we'll cover before the night's done. But please do, if you're watching live, post in there in the comments section below, what do you give up to have your horses? Last year, the inaugural Equa Summit attracted hundreds of attendees as a premier virtual event for horse enthusiasts interested in gut health and stress solutions. The second annual Equa Summit is right around the corner, taking place May 25th and 26th. Join us as experts from the industry and academia tackle important equine health issues such as leaky gut syndrome, heat stress, the connection between behavior and the gut, fecal water syndrome, and other hot health and nutrition topics. Whether you're a roper, racer, farrier, veterinarian, hobbyist, or beyond, you'll find Equa Summit has something for you. Don't let this opportunity ride away. Reserve your free spot today by visiting attendequisummit.com. The virtual event goes live May 25th and 26th. Register for free today. Go to attendequisummit.com. And we thank Kemin Equine for being a sponsor here for a very long time on the Horse Radio Network. Give me 1 second here, guys, to get Tara this link so that she can get in. So we can bring her in here.
While you're doing
Yeah.
that, I can also incriminate myself and say that because my husband's watching this, when I got my horse, he also sold his nice bass boat because we couldn't afford to have both things. So now he cries.
You better
every time
never
we drive
screw
by
up
the river.
anything ever again.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
He is going to hold that over your head for life.
every day. Hear about it every day.
Yeah.
He hasn't been fishing since, and it's all your fault.
Yep.
God, he's got to love you.
He's a good one. He's
Yeah.
a keeper.
Yeah.
Cheaper to keep her, I guess.
Does he help with the horse? Does he go out to the barn
Yeah,
with you?
he's a horse guy. We actually met through horses. He was the hay delivery
Oh.
boy at my mom's barn when I was a
Oh,
teenager.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Let's add Tara in here. Tara, you're with us.
Hi.
You're on the air, by the way. We're live.
Yes.
You there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks for jumping in. I hope everything's okay with the ponies.
It's the puppies.
Oh, she has about 10 of them, so it could be any one of them.
Well, I had a foster have 6 puppies on Monday.
Oh, no. So now you have about 20 dogs.
15.
15. Oh, Jennifer's over there yelling, she has puppies, she has puppies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Tara, tell everybody a little bit. You do fox hunting and what else down there in Texas?
Trail ride, show hunters. It's kind of, I have a baby Chincoteague pony who will be starting next spring-ish.
You bought that one at the auction, right?
Mm-hmm. Online.
Yeah.
The first year they did it in 2020.
Yeah, that's cool. And how old's a Chincoteague? What's the attitude like with that little pony?
It's funny. He's been really easy until now. He's pretty sassy.
Teenager now.
Yes. Terrible twos, definitely. he's been really easy though. Easy to train, gets on the trailer. I lead him around. He tries to run away, then he stops. Yeah, he reminds me a lot of, you can kind of see this picture, that one. Ooh, the horse behind me turned 29 yesterday. He is a quarter horse, and they remind me a lot of each other.
Well, happy birthday to the quarter horse.
Thanks.
29, that's good.
And I've had him since he was an embryo.
That's really cool. Very cool. Well, we did the first question already.
Okay.
So we're going to go into your question next. So tell us what you wanted to talk about.
Which one did you pick?
I picked how to create unity in the horse world.
Yeah. So obviously Kentucky Derby always makes one think of this, and
yeah, this is timely right now.
well, and not to belabor my background too much, but like I grew up showing quarter horses on ranches in eastern Montana. My mom's husband was a PRCA saddle bronc rider. My dad rode cutting horses. I show Yusef, A circuit hunters now, and we all talk about it a lot on the podcast, that there's an ongoing issue with people understanding horse welfare and trying to create unity amongst all horse people to address and combat it, because I would hate for horse sports to go away just because people who are not knowledgeable think it's animal abuse. And so I just kind of wanted to chat about how do we unify if possible. And I think this kind of tickles a little bit the conversation about certifications for trainers, to address the horse welfare and educating the public. Because really horse racing and rodeo probably have the biggest stage.
Definitely. There's no question about that. Yeah. And, rodeo, because of the nature of rodeo, it doesn't always look pleasant, right? So, that's something that we have to take into consideration. And racing, I mean, it's had its issues in the past. So what do you guys think? Any comments there, Alicia, Jennifer?
I do. I think in this issue, the animal rights activists are doing a better job than we are. They get out there, they're vocal, they're showing up, they're writing to the powers that be. They even show up at our county commissioners, meetings around here when we're talking about trail availability. And we, maybe because we're so busy at the barn, we're kind of quiet. We're not there. We're not showing up. So our voices aren't being heard, and we don't get the opportunity to share how happy our little critters are, and that we are taking care of them. So there is an opportunity that I think we need to take advantage of being more vocal, being more visible, and trying to counteract what they're saying, not just letting it go and ignoring it, hoping it doesn't affect us, because it will.
Mm-hmm. And piggybacking kind of off what Jennifer was saying, my first thought when I saw that question was education, but it's really hard. Like, say just me, I'm like, I ride my horse on the weekends. Not like I'm probably going to go out and champion for all, horse owners in the world. But I was trying to think of what is, like, even from the tiniest micro view that, like, as horse owners we could do. And the first thing that popped in my mind was, I use Instagram. I have a public Instagram and, like, social media and stuff. I guess you could put information in your post, because I've had people, like, especially when I used to cap in and fox hunt, it was all humane stuff, but then for that one, people didn't know. So if I put, hey, no animals were harmed, or like if you post a video or picture of you doing something with your horse, I mean, everyone can think anything is abuse, but you could say, hey, like, this is why I did this way, if you care to. I mean, so that's like the tiniest way you could do something, which I don't know if that would really help, but just a thought, I guess.
It's more of a
Tara, what are your thoughts on your own topic?
I would like to see more of the big associations, like I mentioned, AQHA, PRCA, USEF, the bigger breeds, whatnot. I think that that should be a part of their leadership roles, is that I think that they should try to coordinate with one another to do the things Pete is doing, to have people in Washington and I think some of them do to an extent, but I feel like to have a bigger voice, it needs to be more consolidated. And not I feel like growing up and having done so many different kinds of riding, it's a lot of, oh, well, the dressage people do that. And, oh, well, rodeo people are feral. And, oh, we need to be more respectful towards one another, learning about each other's sports and how to have a unified voice to protect our horses and our livelihoods with what we do and our hobbies.
But it is the mission statement of the Horse Radio Network, uniting the horse world one show at a time, right? That has been our goal, especially with Horses in the Morning, is to talk a little bit about everything, And, there is the Horse Council. The American Horse Council is the lobbying group in Washington, but there's like 3 people or 2 people that work there, right? So there are various horse councils around the United States that are supposed to lobby in the state, but a lot of them are inactive, and it's not. Yes, if the associations all had to contribute and make that more financially feasible to do on a bigger scale, I think that would be a good thing. And you're right.
You look at the money that USAF, that AQHA, that NRHA, NCHA, PRCA, look at the money those organizations bring in. They can afford it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they were all contributing toward that one thing, that lobbying effort, you're right. And, Marty Irby, we've had him on the show many times, and he's the one out there, but he's going from another angle. He's like, let's clean it up so we give PETA less ammunition. Right. Jennifer, I love that your quote, by the way. I'm stealing that, because they're doing a better job. They're doing a better job than we are. I'd never heard it put that way before. But that's what Marty's point is. Let's clean this up. Let's clean up the most visible one, racing, right? And let's get the drugs out, and let's take the whips away. And let's do all the things that are making racing look bad to the average person. And let's clean it up. And that's his approach. His approach is a little different than let's lobby for, and just make it so that we don't pass laws that hurt us. Let's make it so that they don't have to pass laws that hurt us. Right? So I think that's an approach that there are very few people taking, though, right? Because that does involve making waves.
Right, and you look at the PRCA, calf roping has been taking a beating for years, and it looks awful. You've got these cute little baby calves that this guy ropes, and then he ties.
I gotta admit, it's one that makes me cringe.
But I grew up in a ranch family, so I saw it in real life and what it was used for. And a kid from my hometown won the PRCA a couple of years ago, the NFR. But they're constantly fighting that with that sport specifically, and so I think at some point they're just going to have to let it go.
Yeah, and. When you watch the bucking broncs and the bull riding, then you go, okay, well, this animal has a fair advantage here, and you're not feeling bad for the animal at that point, right? So
no, the saddle broncs and the bareback horses have the best horse lives on the planet, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they're treated very well. They're expensive.
They walk for 8 seconds and then they eat.
Yeah, and you know what? I was shocked at how much they go for. Yeah. It's not cheap to have a bucking bronc that's any good.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Alicia?
It's just such a hard, not really, because when I read that topic, I'm like, that is such a, can of worms, because it's so subjective to what each person thinks is abuse. Like, one person could think that just owning a horse is abusive,
right?
Which a lot of people do. They're like, set them free, you're horrible. Mm-hmm. And then other people don't care if it's all the way up to like the big lick stuff or whatever. So it's such a, and to me, it's a little bit of a slippery slope of like, well, let's stop doing. I obviously agree. Don't do horse abuse. Don't do like the big lick stuff and beat the crap out of horses. But if you then start saying, well, you can't have a whip, or then it might be you can't have a rope, and you have to ride bridleless. Like I don't know. It's like so hard to figure out like rules. But I definitely agree for advocating for equestrians. Like, hey, here's all the good and how spoiled most horses are under a responsible person, and all the good that needs to be highlighted. And keeping trails open, I think Jennifer was saying, is a big one. And I know there's organizations like Backcountry Horsemen and like most fox hunting groups, but I don't know about other ones. Do endurance people do the trail or land use advocating, Jennifer? Do you know?
It's part of our organization, the AERC, awesome. But we rely a lot on the Backcountry Horsemen. And also we have formed depending upon where you are, an uneasy alliance with the mountain bikers, because we use a lot of the same trails. Now, Jennifer's horse, Nigel, probably wouldn't do well sharing a trail with mountain bikers.
Actually, he's gotten much better now, because the trails we ride on by the boarding stables are full of mountain bikers. So,
but it honestly, it works pretty well. And, if we can keep aligning with people where we have some of the same needs,
Smart,
I think that helps. But I agree with Tara that the organizations have to step up, because we as individuals can do local things. I have some trails where I'm going out to train, and I'm going out to train far, and I'm just going to ride. But when I'm just taking it easy, I live near the most visited, what is it called? Most visited battlefield in America, and it's Kennesaw Mountain. And it's a Civil War battle site. And when I ride there, and it's like an 8 to 12 mile loop, it takes me forever, because every mile I'm stopping because there's some toddler or some 6-year-old who's never seen a horse before, and they're patting my horse, and they're, feeding her a carrot. And then we go another mile. No, here's someone else. But I think so that we can continue to share trails, you have to be an ambassador. You have to be friendly and let them pet the horse, let them sniff the horse, let them do these things so that we have the opportunities, and they see that the horse is happy and not suffering and having an okay time.
Yeah, we talk about it on the show a lot, this particular topic, and one of the things is we just have to do better as a whole, right? We have to be better in our own worlds, and people see that. People see what you're doing, and they see, in our case, we're talking to tens of thousands of people, and that makes we have a little bigger platform. But I think Jamie doing the Monty Roberts stuff has really changed, and a lot of people have said they've changed from listening to the show. So we're helping a little bit, but you're always going to have, in every discipline, every time somebody picks on a discipline, I have to remind everybody that every discipline has the bad apples. Every group everywhere doing whatever has bad apples, whether you show dogs or you do, I don't care what it is, right? You're in soccer, you're in football, I don't care. You have the bad apples. We're not going to get rid of them. So we just have to do better as a whole so that they're less visible, right? And that's what it's just, I think Tara said it, it's a learning thing over a period of time. And I think it has gotten better. I think horsemanship as a whole, you guys can disagree with this, but I think horsemanship as a whole over the last 30 years since I met Jennifer and got into the horse world has gotten better. And people are more aware of the teachings of a Monty Roberts and natural horsemanship and all of that. We're much more aware of that than we were 30 years ago. Alicia wasn't even born yet, but I mean,
I'll be 35 on Saturday. So.
Okay, you were 5.
I remember, Glenn. I was there. It's
okay,
better.
Good. Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate the backup on that one. All right, very good. Good topic there, Tara. Good topic, and it's a topic we have to keep addressing, and we have to keep looking at, and we all do, or it is going to go away. We've said that for 3,000 episodes on Horses in the Morning. This is a slippery slope. It's a snowball going down the hill, and since we started the show and started preaching that, the snowball has been rolling down the hill.
Right.
PETA is getting more traction. The first sport to go will probably be some kind of the rodeo sports will go, and then they'll go. Then racing, they'll go after racing harder, and then eventing will be next. And it's just going to go. Fox hunting has always been a target, but that was more about the foxes than the horses. So, but then. Right, Tara? Then they went to, okay, we're going to not hunt foxes anymore. We're going to do drag hunts. Then it became about the horses.
Well,
so,
I think fox hunting, in my opinion, I don't think that there's a lot of unity amongst the different fox hunts, because I've hunted with, 10 different hunts, and I've never drag hunted.
There you go.
So that tells you something.
Of course, Jennifer Fox hunted for a long time, and they very seldom ever caught anything. So, I mean, yeah.
Right. And that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I think the fox hunting group is kind of a little bit, I think they need to be more straightforward to do a service to their sport about what's happening.
And we could probably say that about every sport.
Yeah.
We really could. Yeah.
Yep.
You're right. Absolutely.
Well, Glenn, that first sport's already gone away. What was the Olympic sport? The pentathlon?
Okay, in my opinion, that should have went away. That was
but it's
that was like Glenn going out and doing.
That was like me riding a horse at the Olympics. All right.
It was horrible. I agree. But they got rid of it.
Disaster.
Yeah.
They got rid of it.
Because the athletes didn't care about it. That's why it was a disaster. If they had cared about it, it would have been fine. But they didn't care. They didn't care.
I think it was the visual of that person just, wailing away on that horse.
Oh, and then just watching the others ride made me sick too. I'm sorry. That one should have went away. I'm all for that one going away.
Oh, okay.
They're doing an
We'll make
obstacle
sure
course
there's
now.
sports you want to go away.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. All right. Let's go next to the third topic. And I really like this topic because I think it's something that everybody can answer. And those watching live, I want you to answer. By the way, before we do that, do you want to hear some more of the things people have given up to do horses? So this was Alicia's topic earlier, and I asked in the auditor room what people gave up. Paige said hair color, cable, and the list goes on. So second vote for hair color. Mandy or Debbie says a sound body. Yeah, that's true, especially been a venter for a while. Chelsea says relationships. Traveling, keeping anything clean. I like this one, Lori. Money, living in civilization, and going away for more than 2 days at a time, and a clean house. I don't know that your houses were ever clean if you're a horse girl. I'm just saying. Melanie says nails, eyelashes, extensions, and expensive vacations. You know, nails, hair color, getting your hair done, that's all a big popular one here. Apparently horsewomen just have terrible hair and rotten nails. Yeah. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Summer says time. Well, that's an interesting answer, too. You do give up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time to get there, time to be with them, and time to deal with all their stuff. That's so true of horses. Yeah, and time is another one that Susanna said. And I hadn't thought about time, but yeah, that is a big one you give up when you have horses. It's actually the thing that bothers us most as new horse boyfriends and horse husbands is the amount of time we don't get when you deal with the horses. So that is one of the things that bothers us the most at the beginning. And then after a while, you just learn to deal with it. But it takes a couple years to get over that one. All right. The third one. This was Jennifer, right? You brought this one to the table. So tell us about it.
Well, I was thinking about all that my horse has taught me. I'm one of those rewriters. I rode as a kid and then took a break from the time I was 16 until I was 54. That's a huge break. And what I've learned the second time around, and some of it, is very superficial and very easy. I can back a horse trailer, whether it is a gooseneck or just a hitch. I can back it. Now, my gooseneck, the fenders are off on the right side, and there is a running board that's a little wacky jawed where I've run over a boulder, but I can back it. I've learned the importance, and I'm an older person, of core strength. My horse has taught me that, because when she's throwing me around, if I can pull myself up, life is a lot better. I was never a camper. I'm a Marriott girl. I like my Marriott brand of hotel. But since I've had my horse, I'm camping. And I have my own bucket, and I use it for things I never thought I'd use a bucket for. and that is definitely a result of my horse. So, those are the easy ones. And then then I start really thinking, and what my horse has really taught me is about myself. The horses are a mirror, I think, to ourselves. And the first one they teach you is humility. When I got back on a horse at 54, it didn't take me more than 30 minutes to realize that I wasn't the rider I was when I was 16, and they will humble you fast. I learned that I'm braver than I thought I was. I get lost going to Publix, yet I will set out on a 25, 30 mile ride without a map, just following ribbons, and have faith that I'll find my way back.
Let me make a note for Jennifer not to ride with you on a ride again.
I'm horrible. My horse finds her way back. And we ride on trails that have, I live up in the mountains of Georgia, that have drop-offs, and we see critters out in the woods, and I'm deathly afraid of snakes, yet I'm out there. I'm braver than I thought I was. Even though I think, Glenn, I think you and I are about the same age, and even though I'm aging, I'm not old. And she taught me that. The crew that I ride with starts with that 11-year-old Mia. I see her at almost every ride. And
she was on our show yesterday.
Yeah, I am the oldest in my crew, and believe me, they let me know. But I ride with women who are in their 40s and their 50s, and then there's me. I'm approaching 60. But I'm not the oldest one at the endurance rides.
No, actually, endurance riders there are a lot of into their 80s. Right?
Yeah, they are tough. So even though I'm getting older, I'm much more adventurous and trying new things than I was before I got this horse. And I think also a valuable thing is my horse taught me I can still make friends. You know, as you get to be an adult, usually you have your core group of friends that I made when I was having kids or that I made in college, or that I have work acquaintances. But I've made some new friends, and that's unusual. And my horse, who you didn't ask me about, Glenn, by the way, her name is Ginger, and she's a Morgan mare.
Oh, that's right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. She has taught me all that and given me these opportunities to learn these lessons. She's a good teacher.
Tara?
Oh boy.
That was a lot to follow up. That was well said. Yeah.
Definitely humility. I know, like I said, I've had Jaguar since he was an embryo, and we've had a lot of ups and downs together. Simon's constantly broken right now, so there's a lot of humility there. Patience. I'm not a naturally patient person, and you can't force things with horses. You really, my mare's 10 years old this year, and we've really started showing more in the last year and a half. And I don't feel like she was ready before that, even though, in my head, it's like, she should be doing the 6-7 year hunters. We should be doing X, Y, or Z. And she just wasn't mentally there yet. And for me, also time management. I have 1 billion dogs, and I've got 3 horses and 9 goats and 4 cats and all that. I have a zoo, and I grew up with horses, so I don't know what it's like to not have them at home, really. I only didn't have horses at home for probably the 4 years I was in college, and then like 3 or 4 years after that. But I did have a horse at college. So I just have always, I have to get up at 5:30 and I have to feed horses, and I need to be ready, and I got to drive to work, and I manage human resources for a fast growing consulting firm. And so there's a lot that goes into that requires some malleability in scheduling. And, the horses have to eat twice a day. They need to get, turned out, all those things. And so I've really become pretty masterful with my calendar and with my time.
We were talking about human resources people, to get off on a little tangent here right now. To be a human resources person in today's world, that's got to be a job. Oh my God. It's just different. There's something that's different than it was 20, 30 years ago because of everything that's happened. It's just...
But it's always been that way, Glenn, because everything that we do is so impacted by what's happening in Washington, D.C. and at the Supreme Court. I've only worked in HR since 2006, and I've gone through the FMLA had been around for a while, which is a leave of absence thing, and COBRA was fairly new, and the Affordable Care Act got passed, and every time some type of law goes through the Supreme Court that mandates something with healthcare or workers' rights, you have to change that. But I kind of going back to my topic, though, I think my career gives me a really delightful opportunity to talk to people about horse sports and what you can get out of riding and having horses. Because obviously for me, it's a huge mental, I deal with a lot of heavy stuff. I fired a guy this week, and, I have people who have catastrophic illnesses and things like that happening. And the nice thing about getting on the back of a horse is you can't think about all that.
Yeah, that's true. Alicia?
Man, Tara and Jennifer you took all the good ones. No, I would say definitely patience, and like I have only had my horse almost a year actually in a couple weeks. Had horses when I was like in, high school, and we had a boarding facility and all that, but I catch rode, exercise rode, whatever, a million different horses over the past 11 years before I got my guy. And it was really fun and a great opportunity, but it also kind of knocked my confidence a little bit because you're like literally, hey, it's Friday night. Do you want to fox hunt this rando horse you've never been on tomorrow? And I'm like, okay. And so every time I was riding a horse, I was always kind of like doubting myself a little bit. And so I would say the biggest thing besides, well, I already said patience, but the biggest thing my horse has taught me in the last year is that I'm actually way better than I thought I was. I'm like, oh, I actually kind of know what I'm doing because I get to like take the time and like partner with one horse, and so it like really helps your confidence, and you're like, yeah, okay, like we've got this. This is good, and so that kind of helps him because I've got like nervous thoroughbred type horse. So like if we're like we got each other, it's all good. So it's patience, and it's like he's taught me I actually like kind of know what I'm doing a little bit. And then, except I'm always trotting on the wrong diagonal, but like whatever. And then also just to so appreciate having a horse and just being the opportunity that like I can go out there and just smell his neck, have a ride, and then like not worry about anything and just feel so grateful to be healthy enough to do that and have the financial like be in the position to finally be able to do that. Just teaching you that like you're really lucky if you get to own a horse or get to ride a horse or be around horses. So just kind of taking a step back and like being appreciative, and it's hard, and a lot of time into them and money and strain on your relationship or whatever you have to get up, but that it's teaches you that it's like 100% totally worth it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
I think I'm going to add, being around Scooter, who we got, 8 years ago as a starving child who was about to die, and a hackney pony at that. And I love ponies because they are a little ornery. I don't like boring horses, and apparently I'm kind of that way with my hosts on the Horse Radio Network, if you think about it. So he taught me to be chill, that I had to be chill when I was there, and I'm not too good at being chill. Kind of like Tara that way a little bit, and that's just not real good at being chill. So when I'm there, I have to be chill because he's a pony. He feeds on when you're not chill. So patience is an obvious one. I think we've all learned that, but I think more. And the other thing I learned, and having dogs, and Tara, you can vouch for this one. Anybody that's had a dog can vouch for this one. But I think it's more evident with horses because they're so much bigger. Is how forgiving they are. Is how forgiving really all animals are, but horses, they're so forgiving, and it's just exemplified because they're huge compared to a dog, right? And dogs are very forgiving, but when your horse forgives you, it seems different in a way. I don't know why. Cats never forgive you, so that's not even a thing. But but with your horse, do you guys think that too? That it's just so obvious when your horse does it, right? It's like, okay, he forgave me for being a jerk, the day I was impatient or whatever, it just, and they're just, I love them for that.
Well,
and,
like Jaguar was the first horse I ever started, that I ever was the first one to sit on him. And dear Lord, that's the very forgiving creature. I was 15 years old, he was 2. And yeah, there was a lot of firsts there that he was very patient for.
You cowboying around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trying not to break him.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You do learn. Jennifer, you said it so well. A lot of the things you've talked about, I had never thought of before. So thanks for bringing those to the table.
That's the beauty of endurance. When you're out there for 4 to 6 hours, you have time to think.
You have a lot of time to think.
I learned that, all women, we're pretty good at multitasking. We kind of have to be. But there's a meme going around in the endurance community. If you can't cry and post at the same time, you're not an endurance rider. You have to be able to multitask. And I can cry and ride at the same time. I have proved that. I know that, and it happens. But I think riding a horse is the one time where I'm not multitasking, like Tara was saying. I'm a nurse. I deal with transfusions. I go to the M&M meetings where we talk about the death and mortality. They're horrible stories. I'm a pediatric nurse. I don't think about those when I'm on the horse. I'm thinking about what I'm doing, or I'm crying because it hurts. So, I don't multitask there. And, she gives me that opportunity. And I appreciate it.
You got the horse when you were how old?
I started back riding when I was 54. I got her in 2018, so I was 55?
Okay,
56?
so did you being a pediatric nurse, did taking that home become, in other words, did that become easier not to take that home because you had the horse?
Definitely. I mean, I don't want to get too down. My
No,
husband and I, we lost our older son. Our older son died in the Army. And this horse has saved my life. No doubt about it. She has taught me that there's still fun out there. There's still joy to be found. And that's a gift I can never repay her. And she has forgiven me a lot of times when I get lost on the trail. And she tries to tell me the right way, and I ignore her. And just learning to ride again. She's taught me how to ride again, but also she's just given me some peace, and that's invaluable.
You truly have a therapy horse.
I do. She's wonderful. She is a Morgan, and my joke is that I showed her the description of a Morgan horse, and she read it because she's that smart and said, "Okay, I can do that." And that's what she does. She is just as versatile and as good a family horse as you can find. And she loves endurance. She'll trot for 6 hours.
Very good. Well, this was a good topic. Thanks for bringing it to the table. I really appreciate that. Some more answers here on what people are giving up in the auditor room for having horses. And this ties into to the last question, to Jennifer's question too. My troubles when I'm at the barn, they melt away. That's a good one. I like that one.
Except when there's troubles at the barn.
Yeah, exactly. The next one, I'm not going to say her name. I know exactly who she is, and I've been at her place. Currently, extra money in my bank account. That's true of all of us. Now, Nikki, who does our WTF show for the Auditor Room, by the way, WTF is coming back. On the night of the 16th, we're doing WTF. Alicia doesn't know what that is yet. We'll tell you about that after the show. But that's an exclusive for the auditors, and I can't even say the name on this show. But it means exactly what WTF means. And Nikki she's actually a counselor, so she actually does the important part of that show. We do the goofy part. She says she's given up her husband. So she's still with him, but obviously given up some time. I know Nikki. She's a lot of fun, and for all the auditors, WTF is back. So we'll be doing that. If you missed any part of this show and you want to go back and listen to it, you can find it on the Stable Scoop feed. The audio version will be there. Of course, all the video will be on any of the Facebook pages this is currently on. And I host Horses in the Morning. It's the morning show for the horse world. I'm there we're there 5 days a week. I'm there 3 days a week with Jamie, and we have a lot of fun. We actually talked about endurance with Karen yesterday, had the monthly endurance episode. We had an 11-year-old that just won the Biltmore Ride at 100 miles in the crappiest weather ever. Matter of fact, what was it? There were like 60 entrants, and all but 7 pulled out or something. It was crazy.
Only 4 people finished. 50% of the people who started the 100 pulled. It was muddy. It was slippery. It was thundering. It was lightning. There were bears on the trail. One bear chased one of the riders. I mean, it was crazy.
And Mia, the 11-year-old, who apparently has no fear about anything in the world, who also saw the bears, won the race. She went. They have to have sponsors at that age. They have to have somebody riding with them. So if they, die in the trail, somebody knows where they are. But she went through 2 that horses had to bail out at vet checks, and she kept having to find new sponsors to ride with her. So, yeah, if you want to hear that, listen to Horses in the Morning, the endurance episode from yesterday. And today, we had our Kira on, who's one of our Spotlight riders in the Beyond the Ribbon series this year. She's 12 years old and a little eventer and a lot of fun to follow because she has a great little pony. So you want to take a listen to this morning's show as well. That's Horses in the Morning. All the shows on the Horse Radio Network can be found at horseradionetwork.com. Thank you guys for being on with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Thank you for being auditors and for being such supporters of the Horse Radio Network. We appreciate that too.
Thanks. It was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Well, I'm glad, Jennifer. That means she might come back.
Well, let's not
Thank
go
you,
that
Tara.
far.
Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate it. All right.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time. I'm off to Lexington tomorrow for the American Horse Publications, and thanks to them for being part of this show as well. Go and see all my friends there.